All right, I think I'm on a bit of a delay here. I'm making sure everything's set up, making sure my audio and everything is good. And the only way I know how to do that right now, I will also be on the delay on my screen over here. So, welcome, welcome if you're already watching. I will also be on the delay on my screen over here. So, awesome. It looks like we got it pulled out. All right, I got the live chat up. Sweet, 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 guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. I don't think anyone is really here yet, but for the sake of prosperity and recording later, let's look at our deck list for today. All right, wanted to go over some things really quick. If you guys hop in whenever, I'll try to explain it as I go. Just let me know in chat when you're here. But I'm going to be testing a very similar version to 8-Rack that I've been playing. And the primary difference is against all these food and Hogak deck, or not Hogak, excuse me, Hollow One decks. I'm going to try some Force of Despair in the sideboard here instead of our normal 4 ley line, just to try something different to maybe give us more of a hedge against these decks that aren't really graveyard decks. I say that, then we'll turn right around here and queue up into like 4 out of 5 graveyard decks, but what can you really do? But yeah, just welcome, welcome everyone. And I am going to go ahead and queue up into this league here. Here's the deck list. I'll try to copy paste the deck list in the description here in a minute. But until then, let's go ahead and just hop in the league. Yep, our 5.0 got published the other day, or I guess this morning. So that was exciting. First one that I've had published in a long time. I've got a few over the course of the past year, but that's the first one that WotC published. It's on Goldfish and everything else, so that was pretty sweet. This list, main deck is identical to that. The only thing really different is our sideboard. Oh, oh, one of my friends is finally in the chat. What's up, Jake? Waiting to queue up here, playing some stupid 8-Rack, as you would call it. Yep. Someone was mentioning in the Discord earlier today that quite a few of these Hollow One type working. It's working well enough, right? But quite a few of these like Hollow One type Vengevine type decks are coming out. We're trying some Force of Despair in the sideboard instead of our normal cards. Yeah, let me go ahead and just take a quick second, and I'm just going to type out the list here. Or, well, actually, let me just bring it up at a different. We're going to be keeping our hand here, but I went over it a little bit at the beginning of the stream, but no one was here yet. Here's the list I'm working with. To give you a quick idea, if you're familiar with the 5.0 list that I got sometime last week, the main deck is identical to that. So the only things that are really different is there's 4 Urza Sagas, there's an Expedition map, a Nile Spellbomb. The Smallpox are pretty standard, the Dismember, and 1 main deck Bontu's Last Reckoning. The primary difference in the sideboard here is running Force of Despairs instead of the normal Leyline of the Voids, and we're running some Surgical Extraction. And this is for all these like Vengevine, Hollow One type decks that have been running around. They don't really use their graveyard. Let's get back so our opponent doesn't have to wait on us forever. We want to keep this hand. Yep, we did not have to choose to take the draw. So turn one, Utopia Sprawl. I'm hoping that this is the Heliod deck and not the Enchantress decks. The Enchantress deck is a much tougher matchup for us. Okay, so we got the Heliod Company matchup. Let's take the... let's go ahead and take the Heliod. But yeah, so Force of Despair. Yep, so Dastardly's got it for you already. It's kind of a hedge against a lot of times. We'll have played into... Well, basically, in some of our other videos, we'll play a turn 3 board wipe, and they'll literally just kill us the next turn. So I'm going to try having that instant speed way. So I got the Conclave Mentor. This next turn we'll most likely be taking the Walking Ballista and probably just going ahead and playing the Rack. We'll see what's in their hand here. Actually, we're going to Ravenscrime this last card out of their hand. Alright. Not too tough of a hand here. The Crime is kind of dead with all these lands now, though. So welcome everyone. In for 2. More than likely, it looks like they're holding a Collected Company here. I don't know why they would hold anything else. So let's just go ahead and force it to see what they're working with. Oh, so they're holding a land. They must know what deck we're on. So let's go ahead and get these racks down. And we're just in full-on race mode. Play a real deck like Infect. You are right. If I was playing Infect, I probably would have already won the game at least. So it would not be nearly as fun, though. Maybe not with this Walking Ballista hanging out with all the 1 toughness creatures. They're holding on to cards pretty aggressively here. Let's just see what they've got. This is really, sometimes I joke around and call the deck burn but backwards, and this is the definition of that, this game, is that we're just bolting them every turn. This has been the closest thing to a free win we've had in the past few leagues. Game 1 here. This matchup can be kind of tough if they get off the ground pretty quickly. I'm not even going to show them the expedition map here if I don't have to, because that's a little bit of personal spice with the Urza Sagas. Okay, so he just concedes. Right on. Infect. I will say I don't think I've ever lost Infect playing 8 rack, like literally ever. It's got to be the closest thing to a free win for us that there is. Let's bring in this Pithing Needle. And I don't think we want to bring in the Despairs. I don't think we particularly want to bring in the Regisars in this matchup. Let's bring in the Hex Parasite, and let's go down. Probably the Spellbomb for sure. We're going to go down 1 more here. I like the one of Reckoning to hedge regardless. And let's go down. I'm torn between a Smallpox and a Shrieking Affliction here. There's a chance that I might want to just go down the Expedition map too. I think I'm going to go down the Smallpox right here. They tend to have a lot of Mana Dorks floating around late game, so the targeted removal is a little bit better. But we'll submit it, run it back. This hand's pretty good. All right. Hopefully opponent goes on turn 1 Mana Dork. That's cool. We'll push it real quick. There's a spot here where you might want to Inquisition or Thoughtseize, but considering we have basically another removal spell in hand with these Lilianas, we want to go ahead and have the option to get rid of that dork. So because if they go top deck Heliod or have multiple Heliods in hand right here, that's a card we can't really stop. Okay, so Arbor Elf. Or can't easily stop at least. Let's see what they're working with. Might be a Veil of Summer here too. If that's the case, then we might want to have played things a little bit differently. Yeah, that's okay. Here I'm going to lead on the Peatland instead of the Saga. And this is something you'll notice different sequencing in our deck compared to some of the other decks running this card. Especially with Liliana in hand, we really want to wait to play this Saga out till like turn 3, turn 4. And it's for it to generate its full value instead of just sitting around doing nothing and then getting us a rack. But let's see. If they go Heliod right here, that's pretty rough. It doesn't look like it, though. It's like just Spike Feeder. Well, us having a Thoughtseize here is nice. So we definitely have to use that instead of the Liliana. I guess we're Thoughtseizing, even though I don't want to. Because Heliod right here just means they win the game. Well, pretty much win the game. We don't really have a way to beat Infinite Life. Well, 3 Cocos and a Ranger. So we're not we're not going to stop these collected companies, right? Like it's just not going to happen. So let's take the Ranger. Again, we're going to play. Let's play the Saga here, so that we have a chance to tutor up a Pithing Needle to stop this Spike Feeder now that we know about it, instead of playing the Urborg. And we'll, yeah, if you don't know the deck list I'm working with here, there's a 1 of Pithing Needle in the main deck, but I have 1 extra in the sideboard. So I bring in a second. Okay, that's a good sign. If we can keep them from ever getting to their 3rd mana here, that would be really, really, or their 4th mana, excuse me, 3rd land. That would be really nice. Even if this is another Spike Feeder, that's fine, because we still have the option to Pithing Needle on Spike Feeder. And that'll get us out of quite a few situations. So I think we're Liliana upticking here. And the reason being is that we know exactly there's 3 collected companies in hand. And once they start hitting those land drops, we're kind of in rough shape. And that'll at least give us some time to maybe race with the rack, because they're going to attack Liliana with both of these Spike Feeders here, more than likely, regardless of their play, even if it's a collected company. Let's get rid of the Smallpox, because with that Arbor Elf, it's a little bit rough. If we top deck a land, I would have rather had the Smallpox there, but yeah, Spox to keep them off Cocos, like it keeps them off of Coco for at least 1 turn, but like still, even then, if they rip the Heliod here, we just lose. So I think we're kind of in racing mode. Because they almost have to attack this Liliana, right? Yeah, so they're attacking Liliana with everything. Now the question, the good thing about Saga here is, okay, so we get to see if we draw a land, and where we didn't draw a land, let's just float a mana. And we're going to get Pithing Needle on Spike Feeder, because they're still in a situation where if they find a Heliod, they get infinite life on the spot. I'm still in a spot here where I want to keep ticking up. They do have the Coco next turn, but if we can draw into the right sequence of cards, we might be able to race them here. The Veil of Summer, really, this card is so much more of a blowout than it ever seems. Because if you've noticed, like the whole game, they've been up 1 more card than they would have been up, and that makes a pretty big difference when it comes to our ability to race them with our collection of cards here. We know they have Coco. They'll probably save it for something at instant speed. Oh, so how's it going so far? This is our first game. First game, we're 1-0, or excuse me, it's our first match. We're 1-0 right now. Lily's being attacked. 0-0 overall. Yeah, they're just gonna hold up Coco. That's fine, but there's a lot of hands or a lot of spots where we can race them with this setup. Okay. The second pithing needle on our deck's a little bit awkward. We are going to name Spike Feeder still because they run Skyclave Apparition in their main deck, and hitting Skyclave Apparition and Heliod would mean that they would win off the one more Coco they have left in hand. If I was them, I probably would have waited on this Coco to see what I hit, or to see what they hit. Because or what I name. So if I name Walking Ballista here, Arbor, I'm not sure. Oh, they're just making sure I don't. Yeah, they're making sure I don't name Arbor Elf. You're right. I think we still name Spike Feeder though, and that's just because, like I said, there's the world where they hit Skyclave Apparition off this Coco and go Skyclave Heliod and take the one on Spike Feeder. They win the game on the spot. And like we're not in the greatest spot to race them right here. And where they floated the mana in response, we couldn't stop the third Coco. 3 Cocos is pretty rough. Like 2 of them we can beat, I think, but so there's the Heliod that I was worried about, but let's see. They don't have infinite life next turn, right? It takes one more, or excuse me, they don't have the infinite life plus damage with Walking Ballista till one more turn. The Ranger Captain getting that extra card in hand might have been the tilt that gets the game, though. I am not sure. Well, I feel like if they had a land that they'd be playing this a little bit quicker. Maybe they're afraid to expose the Walking Ballista to removal right here if we top deck a removal. Because we know, let me pull the, I've been keeping track of this mentally, but let me pull this up so you guys can see the stuff I have the knowledge of. We know all 3 Cocos are gone. We know it's Walking Ballista and one more. So there's the land. Okay. I like that play by them. Because they do have to worry about us racing them here. And unless we draw an instant speed removal spell next turn, they can still combo off. Or I guess since they played it out, I can do it at sorcery speed. The Bontu's Last Reckoning is kind of our one out right here. Yeah, the Heliod deck's got to be my least favorite deck to play against. It's a little bit more favorable now that we have the Sagas. So he fogs us for a turn. I mean, if we have instant speed removal, we still get there, but let's just go ahead and draw a card and see. If we hit a Fatal Push, we can Fatal Push them at their upkeep, maybe. But I'm not going to make them click through the whole thing, but I'll make them get the first click or 2 right at least. So that's a good question. All we knew that they had left in hand was Coco, right? And they floated all their mana in response. I'm just gonna see if they'll think to play around Fatal Push here, but they don't. But yeah, so playing the second one on Spike Feeder is just got to be a salty loser. No, well, it's not too bad. Like we still have a game 3 here. I think that now that we're on the, I'm always knowing that they have Veil of Summer. I'm going to take the play this game, and I usually take the draw in this matchup still. But I think on the play we're going to want to go down another card for another board wipe here. But yeah, going back to the Arbor Elf thing, with So if the only card that we know that they have left in hand is Coco, and they floated the mana in response to Pithing Needle on the stack, where we know that they're going to hit a Coco, there's a couple sequence of cards where we lose on the spot, like a Reclamation Sage or a Knight of Autumn or a Skyclave Apparition and Heliod, and they did hit Heliod off one of them. But let's see. A lot of times I'll go down a land when I know the matchup's going to be a little bit grindier or two, but I don't think that's where I want to be this game. I think I'm okay with keeping that Parasite in. I actually might go down the Expedition map. I don't think we're going to get that grindy at any point. That's kind of more of our like blue-white control type card. Yeah, I don't remember if they floated on the first needle either, actually. I didn't realize what you were asking. I thought you meant on that second needle. This is a decent opener, I think. We're just going to lead on Raven's Crime instead of... Okay. I think so. I think it's fine. But it just depends on what they hit off the Coco. And that's kind of a risk that... I don't know. Maybe the right thing's to name the Arbor, because then they're choked on mana for the Walking Ballista later. And we have an easier time racing them, but I'm not sure. I know that we can race them. We can race the fair version of their deck pretty easily. It's the super fast version, or the super fast combo-y version, that gives us the most problems. So next turn, we're probably going to just Fatal Push whatever dork they have, and then name... probably blind name the Spike Feeder here, but we'll see. Because we only have two. Yeah, we'll Fatal Push that for sure. I think since we're planning on Liliana down-ticking. So asking if I've considered a black-white list. Black-white's really good. It's kind of a different deck, though, now, I think. Because you have Vindicates and things like that. And we don't... I don't know. I like being able to use Urza Saga as a 4-of to its maximum potential, because it gets us out of a lot of situations that we wouldn't normally get out of. And once you go to that second color, you can't really run for this card. Talking to some of the guys that play like nothing but black-white Smallpox, they're pretty staunchly in favor of like running maybe one or two of this card, and that's it. So the Shrieking Affliction is not going to do anything for a little bit. So I think I'm going to play Liliana and tick up here. Yeah, black-white is different. It's like, it really is, and the more that Moderns evolve, the farther away, like the two decks kind of split. And that's fine. Like it's almost to the point that it's two different archetypes. Okay, so we knew they were pretty heavy-handed representing Veil there, but we didn't have anything that mattered anyway. We're going to get rid of this Affliction. Yeah, that is the big thing, is that I don't know. I'm not a black-white player most often, but I can't see them being able to squeeze Saga in their deck. And we squeeze Saga in the deck pretty intensely. Like, it's steadily going up to a 4-of on this card. It's been one of the best things about the deck. Okay, let's see here. Land was kind of the perfect top deck right here. So now we can go here, play a rack, we'll tick up, and then on their end step, we'll make a construct. This card right here, you'll kind of see the alternate mode of this card where we get to race with it a lot. I don't know. I think this is just a generally one of the most powerful cards in the entire set. I've been really impressed with it, at least. If they don't cast anything here, we pretty heavily know that they have Coco. From Wednesday. Hey, yeah. Congratulations, man. Tron's a really hard matchup. And I've been really lucky to kind of like sideboard knowing that not many people are running Green Tron, especially online right now. But way to get after it. So good thing is here, I don't think that they know that we have a second pithing needle, right? So like they know they can't combo. Maybe they're just relying on hitting the. Yeah, I had to go down to 3 of the Mishra's factories to accommodate the fourth one of these. But really, like, hopefully you'll get to see right here. This is one of the more powerful cards. Like it's that's nice that they've got that going on, but I don't know if they know that we have the or can get the second pithing needle. At least they're not playing around it, even though they saw both of them last game. But we're going to go ahead and get another construct here. And this is the part that makes the card more powerful than I thought, is look at how big these cards are on, what, turn 5 right here. They're going to end up being 5/5s in an 8-rack deck. And it just lets you attack in a different way. I'm surprised that he keeps putting the counters on the Ballista. Because you'd think that he'd want this to maybe put pressure on the Liliana, but... Because I'm sure he knows that I'm going to downtick this, right? Because he doesn't have any cards in hand. Yeah, so we're getting Pithing Needle naming Ballista. He can't respond to it. So now we just make them sack a creature. Swimming too. Yeah, it's 7 colorless sources is a lot. Like it definitely is. The Urborg helps. There's a reason why I'm running 4 of them. I'm going to go ahead and get in for 5 right here. And it's not because Urborg is a fun card to run 4 of. Like as you see, this one's kind of stuck in my hand. But you almost just have to have it for that turn 2 Smallpox, turn 3 Liliana. I think if they top deck, okay, so if they top deck like a Reclamation Sage here, it'd be a pretty big tilt, but... Or I think they probably run Knight of Autumn where they're so easy to cast it. Either way, they're going to be empty-handed next turn, and we're probably just going to go ahead and beat down again. Yeah, like the Saga is really, it's just powerful, man. Like it's really hard to explain. Like this game looks so much different if we don't have the Saga. We outperforming them on the battlefield. We've shut down both ends of their combo. I'm just going to block here. I don't know what their game plan is, but I know that I value the Lilianas over the constructs anyway. Okay, so they just gaining life here, I guess. I think this is what they call garbage time. I think we got them pretty easy here now. Let's crime them. Pitch the Urborg. Yeah, he just concedes because he knows that we have the way to get him hellbent. We're swinging 10, so 1-0. Yeah, being able to. There's so many times where like the rack is too slow, but those constructs, like it keeps them from being able to sit there and hold and hoard the cards in hand. Oh yeah, I hear. I was slower, actually, kind of like. I wasn't down on Saga, but I thought that we were going to be running it as like a maybe 2 of, and like I was saying like 2.5, but I've been impressed with it. I really have. But 1-0. It'd be nice to get a 5-0 live stream here. Running into, if we can run into Heliod decks and like prowess decks and stuff like that, those are the ones that I've had a lot of experience navigating playing against. So yeah, like I'm confident in the matchup. Or I know what cards in our deck are good in the matchups. I like them. I don't think I've lost to Heliod in a best of 3 since Modern Horizons, and that felt unwinnable for the longest time. But just having those ways to tutor the pithing needles are such a big game. Like, pithing needle is one of the most underrated cards in Modern, I think, and I think it's probably getting ready to be less so. I'm going to take the draw in the blind. That's something that I'll do. That a lot of other streamers maybe won't, or just 8-rack players in general. If you're running this card in your deck, I think you pretty much want to take the draw. Let's see. Yeah, just having the big blockers, it's like that's one of the biggest deals. Them playing this card on one is kind of a good sign. So this is Merfolk. If you don't know, this tells me that they probably have another one of these in hand. I don't know why they would run it. This is like the pure, like, we're trying to race them game plan. Let's see. Do we want to take? We want to take the Silvergill here, I think, just because the Reejery's their most powerful card in the matchup, and this just represents 2 cards. So we're going to be Thoughtseizing the Reejery next turn anyway, but this will definitely be the classic. Can we race the Lord hand? If they don't have a land in hand, I'm very tempted to just take the second Lord. Because at this point, they essentially are doing the same thing, right? Okay, well, that is very, very good. Yeah, so we're going to take the Lord. We don't have Mutavault, so here's something that's really interesting to know if you still run Mutavaults in your deck. The opponent's Lord of Atlantis will pump your Mutavaults. So if you ever get in a spot where you're debating between one of these two and you have Mutavault, Lord of Atlantis pumps all other Merfolk, both sides of the battlefield. So coincidentally, they pump your Mutavaults too. It's kind of a neat thing to know. We're going to take the Master here still. I don't have anything that, like, any surgical or anything like that main deck. I'm probably just going to hold up this Fatal Push. Yeah, there's a spot. They're probably running Counterspell in their deck, but I would rather them Counterspell than like Reejery or something, so. I imagine if they had land, it would just be like slam land go. Okay. Yeah, there's no point in slow rolling it. We're just going to Fatal Push that. So Pox plus Affliction is tempting. I think we're going to be a little bit stricter here and just Liliana downtick, because we really want to make sure that we have the third land. Yeah, like that was the hardest time to knock Pox I think I've ever had. Like that, there's never been a juicier Pox than that right there, right? But I'm hoping that we keep them off their third land right here for a turn, and now we clean them up here. Silvergill Adept's one of their better cards against us, kind of. So we got the Factory. I think I still want a Pox here, right? Yeah, Liliana is. It used to be like 3/4 of the deck. Like up until Saga was printed, that was literally like the only expensive. That and Thoughtseize was it. I mean, everything else you could probably get the deck for like less than $40. So they top deck the Force of Negation there. That's a little bit of a tilt, but they had to pitch the Reejery, so it's not the end of the world. And like we have enough removal and stuff that that we okay. So there's a removal spell. We might be able to blow them out a lot here. I'm not going to play into a counterspell in their main phase, but if we can Fatal Push this Lord of Atlantis, then block with Factory as a 3/3, I think we got them pretty easy. I'm still probably going to do that. So I'm still going to do that. I'm still going to play the trading as much resources as we can game. Instead of blocking as a 3/3, I'm just going to use it to cycle one of these peat lands. Yeah, the block pump, I don't know if you guys have got people on that yet, but that's probably the most common mistake I've seen people make against our deck. Well, here's a Saga. I probably should have went ahead and drew a card first, but it didn't matter. We can raise a single Reedry in this spot pretty easy. But they start top decking other lords, we might be in a little bit of trouble. No spell is interesting because almost all of their spells are like pretty applicable. I could see maybe a Merfolk Trickster and like they tap down our Saga on their upkeep before it gets a counter. A little bit flooded right here. We're going to play the Urborg though. There's a question in this spot if we chump block or not. I think they just don't have much of anything. Like they might have a Lord or something here, but it looked like they were holding cards in their hand for this Shrieking Affliction. I'm just going to take it this turn. That's a little risky, but that puts us so that we have multiple good blockers on the following turn. Notably, we do die to another Island Walk Lord, though. But okay, let's see. I can't make another one of these and play the Liliana this turn. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to Pithing Needle name Mutavault so that we don't have to worry about Lord into like Island Walk Lord into kill us with Mutavault. But we don't have enough mana to play this and Liliana. We really want rid of this Reedry. So it kind of sucks, but we're not going to get the full value out of this on this turn. Let's get the Pithing Needle on the Mutavault. We're just going to keep holding these lands for Raven's Crimes later, if we top deck a Raven's Crime. I'm tempted to play one of them. No, I'm just going to go ahead and play one of the lands, but I'm going to make them sack first here. Okay, so now we have the Mutavault in check. We have a blocker. I probably could have got in right there, but there's the card Merfolk Trickster to be looking out for. Knowing that we can just keep upticking this Liliana is why I went ahead and played the land out, because we would have had to discard one of them anyway. Aether Vial's good to get rid of. Well, it's not particularly great right here. I'm still going to uptick the Liliana and keep this land for her. And we'll just dismember whatever they play on their turn. Yeah, since now that I have this instant speed removal spell, I don't have to worry about them flashing in a Trickster here. We can just go ahead and start getting in. Them hitting a couple Aether Vials there is pretty lucky for us. What type of rack decks do you guys play? Are you guys mostly all on the mono black train? Do you run different versions? Like, I'm going to uptick here, keep the Dismember. And I really would have liked to have had the second Edict. And there's part of me that wants to not uptick at all right there, but I think that playing it a little bit slower is where we want to be. This on 2 now is really worth noting. So yeah. Okay. Them sequencing like that's a little bit odd. Like I would have probably, if I had another Merfolk in hand, if I was them, I would have cast it. We're just going to be safe and just keep their creatures off the board. Yeah, Green Splash. I actually tried a Green Splash recently with Grist and Braids, and like you can kind of get this lockout game with where you tick up with Grist every turn, and then Braids gives the or sacks the token, and so they can't really play any more lands or they lose their creatures, and like you always have this constant value engine. It was okay. It went 3-2, but I feel like two of my wins were really lucky. Like I feel like I should have been 1-4. We're just going to keep upticking. Maybe the right play there is to play the expedition. No, play the expedition map. Get in for 3, then crack it, get the land, then discard the land. But that puts us in a spot where we might have to take damage from a dismember at 3 here. So yes, this little one construct token, it's beating their them holding cards in hand. You know, like it's done a lot of work. Okay, and they concede. Right on, 1-0 this match. This is usually not the toughest matchup, I would say, for us. Like, if we can keep playing these sorts of decks, I'll be happy. Force of Despair is tempting, but I think because of Vile, that maybe the Reckoning's just a little bit better. Regisar is tempting too. Like this is one of those cards where it's really more supposed to be a clock against our like Leyline of Sanctity or control opponents and stuff, but oftentimes just a 3-mana 7/6 will be the biggest one on the battlefield. Was he play mono and Orzhov? What type of list is Orzhov on now? Because they got a lot of new toys. Like I've seen Grief Ephemerate versions, like Vindicate. They got Cauldra for Stoneforge Mystic. They got all sorts of stuff now. I'd be interested in seeing, like, or just at least hearing what type of stuff Orzhov does. It's tempting to go down a land or two here because they're really slow for a quote unquote aggro deck. I definitely think I'm going to go down at least one Affliction. And don't need the Nile Spellbomb. Yeah, opponent kept holding cards right there, and that little 2/2 from the Saga was just a big deal. Which that's not a whole lot different than the Factory. It's just more mana intensive, I guess. Let's. The Hex Parasite's tempting because it messes Vile up a little bit. But I think let's try. This whole league's about testing Force of Despair, right? So let's just play one of them. I don't think that's better than Last Reckoning, but like I'd like to cast it once or twice if I want to name the stream after testing that card. This is a pretty snap keep. Notably, Urborg and the Peatlands play really nice together here. Them having a Vile on turn 1 can be tricky sometimes. But hopefully they have a really disruptible hand here, though. So Force of Negation, not really worried about that. We got the Fatal Push for one of the creatures. I'll pull this back up. Like I said, I keep track of this mentally pretty well, but if you all want it just to be able to see. Yeah, Fish, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a hard matchup. Like, it's not a free win, but it's pretty easy to disrupt what they're doing. Okay. I'm going to just knock this Fatal Push off now. Well, I would wait if you buy into in paper. I'd probably wait like another like month or so to make sure that Saga is just not so broken that that it's going to get banned like instantly. Let's see here. So if we play the Liliana tick down, it's just going to die, and we know there's a second Mutavault in hand. Let's. We might be okay with the Liliana dying, but I don't want to give them free value like that, though. I think I'm just going to hold up the 3-mana Dismember here. Oh, yeah, post it up in the Discord channel, and after I get off stream, I'll check it out. This gave them an opportunity to top deck counter magic, but there's a couple threats besides this that. Okay. Now I'm more comfortable with Liliana uptick here, maybe. I'm not sure, though. No, never mind. They played the Mutavault, so. Factory's okay. I think we just have to Liliana downtick, right? Like, we're going to lose her, but like we can't just take 6 damage a couple turns in a row. Us not finding a rack effect here is a little bit tough. I'm still okay with them sacrificing a Mutavault to this. That makes our smallpoxes and things better later. And yet, Bontu's is looking like a whole lot better of a top deck than Force of Despair would be right here. I keep wanting to call it Force of Negation. Mutavault getting fired up. It's interesting that they didn't. They're pretty confident that they didn't have Fatal Push there if they attacked with both. We're just going to. We have the opportunity if we want to. We can cycle this Peatland and trigger the Fatal Push on their turn, and then block the Mutavault with our Mishra's Factory as a 3/3. So that's what we're going to do. Them having a third Lord would be pretty good. Them not attacking with Reedry here makes me feel like they don't have the third Lord, but we'll see. I'm glad I didn't show them that this could do this last game. The Saga's a good top deck there. Okay, they didn't have another Lord that's really, really big for us. That guy's a pretty big blowout. Asmo looks pretty disgusting. Like, I kind of hope. Well, I don't hope we queue up into an Asmo list tonight because she's absolutely busted. But that whole archetype is actually pretty nuts. I think that's going to be the best deck in Modern in like a month. It's just like there's like 6 different versions right now, and no one can really get a beat on what the best game plan is. Having this Thought Season with Aether Vials late game kind of sucks. Yeah, that has to be tilting for them, right? Another Saga is really good. That might be able to close out the game. Oh, the third one. God. Saga him up. Urborg here is kind of nice to have. I'm not scared of anything that they could have in hand, right? Like if they want to trade a Mara Reedry for this Mishra's Factory, I'm all for that. Factories are really nice to have with Urza Saga too, because it can act as like this little just tap it pump spell. It makes combat trickier for our opponents too. It's looking like the. I don't want to jinx us, but 3 Aether Vials is a pretty good sign for us. I mean, of course, there's no need for them to play anything at this point, right? Like, I will say we're just going to start going full value on these Sagas now. Like, we're not going to get in with the Mishra's Vault or Mishra's Factory this turn. I'm probably just going to get Pithing Needle naming Aether Vial here for the first one, so that they have to play at sorcery speed. Yeah, people haven't. They don't. They tend not to play around this card very much. But also getting the Pithing Needle off the Saga. But also they might just have nothing in hand and just be trying to like get us to slow our own clock down a little bit. Well, they don't have another Merfolk, so it's not indestructible. I mean, this is just pretty devastating right here, right? Like this is actually. Let's just get a rack because that guarantees some damage next turn. Play another one of these because there's no reason to get the expedition map. Yeah, that is quite a bit of damage coming through right there. Yeah, I don't know if the goal. So we have a better matchup against the Golgari deck than we do the Hollow One version. So I can't really tell. So from my perspective, the Hollow One version looks better, but also the Golgari one looks like it, and the Jund versions look like they could be pretty nuts. Like just being able to have that giant feasting Troll King or whatever the big 6 mana 7/6. It's a 0 mana 7/6 in their deck. That like going more all in on the Witch's Oven part. I can see that being a better overall deck, but I don't know. I've not. I've only played against the Golgari one. I think like once or twice though. Oh, I wish the YouTube chat wasn't on a delay, but apparently there's no. It's like always 1 minute behind, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because I wish you guys could like comment instantly, but I hope our opponent doesn't skip through their turn. Okay, when you take the draw, that happens a lot. Is that they'll start moving, passing through the phases, and then okay. Spire Bluff Canal tells us probably prowess. I mean, this was a loose keep on my part, but it plays well against so many matchups, and the Liliana on turn 3 is good. So if this was prowess, we really prefer to be on the play because our removal lines up a lot better with them when we're on the play. When I ran Bloodchief's Thirst, I still liked being on the draw against them, but Snow-Covered Mountain there's weird, unless they're just trying to psych their opponents out. I can't imagine that they're not prowess though, right? I guess they could be Storm if they're running Snow-Covered Mountain. It looks like prowess though. Liliana will be good against the Stormwing if that's what they're on. Yeah. But like I said, this is the like this and Burn and Tron are the only real matchups where you want to be on the play that see any play. There are other matchups like Infect and Elves and stuff, but you don't really see those decks much anymore. I think we just go. Hmm. I don't want to just go completely after their hand because then we can't guarantee that we cast the Liliana. So let's go. Yeah, Saga looked really good that game, didn't it? Now we did have 3 of them, so like they look much better the more you have. That's also an incentive to run all 4 though. I think is that every saga makes the next saga so much better. Them discarding Soulscar Mage is kind of weird right there. It almost makes me want to just keep Ravenscriming them. Yeah, like I understand that with the randomness with Goblin Lore. I remember I'm sure if you're watching this, like you probably know who John Finkel is. I remember he used to be really, really big on the card Desperate Ravings, and one of the things he was pretty insistent on was that like Magic players are a little bit too scared of like the randomness of cards. But I'm still scared of the random the randomness of cards. Like I still don't like them. So like I'm with you on that. Even with a Magic player that good saying it, I'm still like I don't know about that. Yeah, you do got to just embrace that you're playing essentially a casino deck, right? Like you got the highest of ceilings and the lowest of floors with that deck. I'll start going over. I've not said a whole lot about the gameplay for the past couple of minutes, just because it feels to me kind of clear why the decisions I'm making. But if there's stuff that like you guys see that you're like I don't know about that, just call it out in the chat too. This is one of the secretly best cards in Modern right now. I think it's definitely good against us. It's seeing a four of in Legacy Delver now, and it's one of the most efficient 2 mana card advantage spells they've ever printed. Like it's I lost the game to Prowess yesterday, or excuse me, a match to Prowess yesterday. And before this card was printed, I could count on like one hand the amount of matches I lost to Prowess. But that just generates them so much value. Losing Liliana here is not a big deal. As long as they don't have like a Spell Pierce or a second creature, we're winning the race pretty handedly, actually. Hopefully we draw something we don't really like that we can discard. Um, I'm tempted to keep the Urborg around, but let's not. I'm a little squeamish of going to 6, but we're going to go to 5 anyway, so let's just go ahead and do it. I'm going to crack up and open another drink here. Crap. Hand got a little bit wet. There we go. We're just going to get rid of this peat land. We're winning this race pretty handedly, but what do you mean about? Oh, so playing the land right there. I guess I wasn't paying great attention. I guess I could have done that. Yeah, that's probably a pun on my end actually. I was sitting there thinking that about holding the Urborg for Raven's Crime, and I got to talking and stuff after that, and it was kind of the thought of, oh well, I can't. I'm not going to pitch it to that, and I just kind of let it go. Hopefully, we draw a land right here though, so we're not too punished. Um, I think I'm just going to go map Affliction here. And then next turn we can map and get a Saga. Because yeah, they would be dead this turn if I had played that right? Well, not quite, but they'd be really close. They'd be at 1. So hopefully it's not a net thing. Yeah, these things are like Squadron Hawks, man. they dig for each other well too. But yeah, you were right. I should have played that Shrieking Affliction there, and the Urborg. I would have taken 1 less damage, and they would have taken 3 more damage. But it is what it is. I don't think it'll matter too much. Land here wins us the game, right? Because we have to have... Okay, they didn't draw anything anyway. Yeah. So not too punished that game. Something I found is that this card's pretty bad in this matchup, and I usually like it a lot. but they just have so many haste creatures that you want fatal pushes and things for. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna keep at least one, maybe two of them in, but I'm gonna try some number of Force of Despairs too. Let's go. Notably, I bring in Regisar in this matchup a lot. Let me think about this. Yeah, that was nice that it didn't blow us out. Me making that little bit of a punt there, but we got there. So we're going to assume that we're on the draw. So Regisars are kind of bad on the draw, but they're really good on the play because they're just always bigger than anything they play. So we're going to keep these in the sideboard. If we lose this game, we'll bring them back in. But they didn't see Saga, so there's no reason for them to bring in a card like Vapor Snag or something, which this card is awful against Vapor Snag, but overall it's pretty good. Let's go down Thoughtseize. I'm always worried about Bedlam Reveler when I think about cutting this card in this matchup, but I think it's still right to cut it. Unless we see Bedlam Reveler, because that's usually stuff that only real people who are insistent on playing Bedlam Reveler ever actually play Bedlam Reveler. Okay, I like this hand a lot. This is almost too good of a hand because we don't really have any rack or Liliana or like repeated card advantage. We just have basically just straight removal. But yeah, this could be tough too. Swift Spearing right here, I think we just Fatal Push it instead of Inquisitioning. If it was a Soulscar Mage, I'd maybe consider Inquisitioning because Soulscar Mage would imply that it's more likely for them to have a second creature in hand because it maximizes their damage on the next turn. So I think that we have a better chance to just go ahead and Fatal Pushing this thing now. But yeah, it looks like a couple more people tuned in. If you just tuned in, we're 2-0 right now, and we're 1-0 against Prowess. I'm probably just going to Pox them right here. Or am I? So if we Pox them... The problem is if we Pox this turn, it puts us pretty far off Saga. I think we Factory Threaten to block. And if it's clear that they have something, we Dismember taking 2 life instead of the 4. Yeah, it's been really awesome so far. I've really enjoyed it. Like it's just, I don't know, especially these decks that are like really low to the ground that we've played against. It's just we do what they do, but a little bit more efficiently so often. I'm just going to Dismember. That tells me that they clearly have something, though, right? Like if they're willing to attack into that, because that would just be a game ender had they not played it that way. The next turn that lets us play the Saga, Inquisition them, and then get in for Mishra's Factory if it's safe for a bolt. Also, there's quite a few bolts. That is why there's no fear on their part, right? So next turn, if they draw a land, they can Gut Shot Stormwing. So I'm actually just going to take the Gut Shot here, as weird as that sounds. Like, Bolt's clearly better, but Gut Shot's the only way that they can play a creature the next turn. And I'm okay with them using Bolt on these Sagas, not so much so. Okay, so that keeps them off Stormwing Entity this turn. So I think that was the right play. I'm just going to play the second Saga here. I think we're in racing mode. We might get in a spot here, too, where we get to Pithing Needle this fetch land if they're not paying attention. That's probably what we'll do if they're not paying attention, too. Like that's a pretty big... I I kept Pithing Needle in. I usually do just because of fetch lands. I can't tap this for a construct anyway, so I'm just going to tap it for this ability. In case we draw another black card I want to draw. Yeah, we're just going to Pithing Needle that Wooded Foothills, because now they're 2 turns off of casting the Stormwing Entity, right? Like, and that's the card that I'm more worried about. And the second one can get a rack if we want to get a rack. If you notice here, I'm intentionally not sequencing this different just because I'm trying to aggressively play around Lightning Bolt here. I'm fine with if they want to waste 2 bolts on one of these, but we know there's 3 bolts in hand and they only have 1 mana. So on their next turn, if they want to go bolt, bolt, because we can activate Factory in response and pump them up 1. They're still off of Stormwing Entity here. I mean, yeah, we're just going to make... I'm curious if they'll try to bolt in response to this one. We're just going to activate that. I wonder if they even were thinking about that interaction. Okay, they just Shane concede with that. I think that they just weren't paying attention to that. But 3-0. Pretty easy 3-0 so far. This is one of those decks that's really, really hard to 5-0 with, though. Just because there's almost always like one matchup where your opponent just has the nut. And I think I'm going to make a video talking about it one day where I feel like that the rack is almost always better than it looks. Because once you get to the paper setting, it's so much easier to go 4-1, 3-2. And you go to a major tournament, if you're 8-2, you make day 2. So like it's leagues aren't necessarily the best measure of how good a deck is or how playable a deck is. I'm gonna plug my phone up right here because I'm pretty like technologically inept. Awesome, thank you, man. And I'm not using like a double monitor or anything. I'm using my phone to keep track of chat while I play on my screen, so I don't get that weird infinite monitor type screen setup. So I'm gonna plug this up and try to keep it where I can see it here though. Just because it's starting to get to where it's dead. Yep, joining back up. Also, Nether Spirit. Nether Spirit's a interesting card. It's kind of a free roll as a one of, but I'll get back to that here real quick. I want to talk about this hand. Mulliganing that first hand was a pretty easy mull. This hand, it's 6 lands and a Fatal Push. Because we have a draw land, I'm going to take the min-max and keep it here. Oh, no problem, man. I have a ball making it. It's been fun. This is the first time I've gone live. And I enjoy. I usually just do direct to YouTube videos. But yeah, on Nether Spirit, like Nether Spirit's okay, right? Like it just does what it does, and it's an infinite chump blocker. It's kind of like almost an extra man land in your deck. That's interesting to see. Also, this is the one matchup where I intentionally went down a lot in my sideboard for because I haven't seen it in so long, and here it is. So, like, there's a good chance that we just can't win this game 1. I think. And I was just talking at the very beginning before everyone started really like piling on and jumping in that I haven't sideboarded Leyline in like 7 or 8 leagues. So I took Leylines out for Surgicals and the Force of Despairs, hoping that the Force of Despairs would be enough against a deck like this. and the surgicals could maybe help out some, but most people already know what we're on anyway at this point. But I mean, we'll just see what they have. Oh no, you're good, man. I'm glad you got to tune in. Uh, I hope work's not too rough. Force of negation there makes me think maybe that they don't have the card they need right here. Yeah, this is going to be probably the matchup that gets us, especially with no Thoughtseize that hand, and I didn't want to mold to 5 because I knew pretty much any top deck is live. We do have one of Bantu's Last Reckoning, so we'll play it out from this spot, but we do get to look at their deck list here, or a lot of it, real quick. Well, double Fatal Push is not going to get there. What all do they have right here? Ceradon. So this is just the teamer list that guys like Gabriel Nassif have been playing. It's really good, but like I don't know. I hate playing against it, and I haven't seen it in a long time. So I took out the ley lines for a bunch of cards that don't really do a whole lot against them. So let's go up all 3 surgicals. We're probably going to go down Pithing Needle and Expedition Map. We're going to go up the Force of Despairs, and we're going to go up 2 of the Reckoning, and we're going to go down all 4 of the Fatal Pushes. Because like Fatal Pushes don't kill any of their creatures when they get flashed back, so there's really no point in it. Dismember is a maybe. Regisar is a maybe. I think the going down of Spellbomb's good enough. Maybe some number of Raven Crimes. I don't know. I think 2 Raven Crimes. This is a really hard matchup without Leyline. But like I said, I haven't played this deck in like 5 or 6 leagues, and I knew as soon as I took out all the ley lines, I would be facing one of them down. His hand is not great, but we have the ability to Thoughtseize and to play Urborg to get a Nile Spellbomb. I'm not sure. I don't know if one Nile Spellbomb is going to be good enough against them. I think we keep right here and lead on the Saga. Tell me what you guys think, chat, on that. Because we don't have a whole lot of tech against them in this match. Like I intentionally metagame to not play against this deck as much as possible. Liliana's not too bad here. We don't get to make the Saga token from playing at turn 1, but it just accelerates the speed that we can get a Nile Spellbomb back. This is a tough matchup. For sure, for sure. So pretty easy. Take the I think we might take the Force of Negation here, actually. Yeah, I'll definitely be looking forward to the Discord, man. I'll try to check the general chat right as soon as we're done. But thank you, bud. I'm going to take the Force of Negation here, actually. And that'll keep them from stopping this Liliana next turn. And we can start threatening the Nile Spellbomb. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the best sequencing, but like I said, I don't play against this deck a whole lot. Float a black here. Get a Spellbomb. I'm okay with how this game's gone up to this point. Like we have a way to instant speed threaten whatever they're doing. So they discard a living end. A surgical on that living end would be lights out right here. Yeah, so this is one of the more tough matchups. We'll let them show us that it's living end. I mean, yeah, we just got to crank it off, unfortunately. We don't get to draw the card off of it, but it's that, or they just make 30 creatures here. Yeah, I think the lead saga was right. Oh, they just had the street wraiths, the cycle in response here. That's pretty nasty. This is a really, really hard deck to play against. For us. Generally speaking, I mean, it's probably not the hardest deck to play either. Notably, I'm not ticking down right here just because we're just feeding into more of the shenanigans with the more creatures you kill, the better their creature or the better their living ends get. So we're kind of in the spot where we need Bantu's Last Reckoning and like maybe a surgical for that living end. Unfortunately, these things have Swamp Walk, and they get to the point in the game where they can start casting their creatures. That's when you're kind of you're kind of in trouble if you let them get that far. Okay. I guess we can potentially dismember here. We can just never block these things because of the swamp walk. It's so like just that's why the whole like machinations of how this deck works. It's really hard to unless you have 4 ley lines in your sideboard. It's kind of hard to have a chance against them. I'm trying to decide if I need to. I think it just doesn't matter what I do, right? Like eventually, if I don't hit a board wipe, I'm just going to die. I think I have to. Well, that thing's got flying. I'm not blocking it either, and it's 1 more damage. So I don't know. Probably not going to get the 5-0 tonight, but if we can go 4-1, I'll be happy. Let's see. I think if they have Brazen Borrower and we make a Saga token, we die. But we die anyway if they just flash it in. So let's make the Saga token this turn. We playing tonight? Maybe if you want to after this league. It's getting a little late though, so I'm not sure. Yeah, at least we can block this Shardless Agent this turn, and that gives us in a spot to maybe board wipe and get out of this, but it's not exactly an easy spot though. Well, if they just Violent Outburst here again, we lose, right? Yep, yeah. I think that's going to do it. That'll do it. Well, if they had 1 less card in hand, we would have killed them at their upkeep. But we do not. That might be on me, sideboarding wise, to taking out the 4 ley lines. But like I said, because we really can't beat this deck without them. But as many games I've gone without seeing, or many leagues I've gone without seeing this deck, I felt like that I didn't need them. But 3-1, we'll play one more. We'll try to get at least some or most of our money back, right? We're already 3-1, so we get the pot back, right? We get the 100 play points back and a treasure chest, but a 4-1 would be nice. I still call that a good night. I like the games where we lose the die roll because I don't have to feel bad choosing the draw or letting our opponent know what's up on the draw. Rest. I feel like I've played against this guy recently. I just can't remember what he's on. Thinking maybe it was a shadow list or something. Yeah, it's probably some sort of shadow list. Might just be Dragon Rage Channeler. Delver. Delver's a weird matchup for us. Delver itself, I'm not particularly impressed with in Modern. But all the little expressive iterations and the snapcasters and things like that, if they're running those, it might be hard to get ahead on them. I am going to see if the Delver flips here, and then I'll Fatal Push it if it flips. So I think there's a likelihood that they draw Counterspell or they have Force of Negation in hand, and this plays around both of those. And this lets us get extra information from their hand. I still think I want to Fatal Push this here. Even though it's not flipped. I feel like that's really their only threat right now. They might just Sprite Dragon us here, and I might feel bad, but I'd rather them not go land Counterspell and then us be kind of a turn behind. Black Source would be really, really good this next turn. Serum Visions is good. Means they don't have a Sprite Dragon. That's the best card in their deck, in my opinion. So they probably have a tap land here, I'm guessing. Oh, they don't have a land. Okay. Not sure if that's a good or bad thing. I'm just going to play the Saga here and hope that I draw a third or a Black Source. Let's go ahead and Inquisition. Well, so they do have a land. I wonder why they held it. That's weird. That's very weird, I think. I would have went ahead and played that out. But so they already have 4 card types in their graveyard. It doesn't matter what I take right here. I'm going to give them Delirium for their Dragon Rage Channeler. So I guess I just take one of the Force of Negations, I guess. And that might give me a spot at some point to be able to resolve this Liliana, and they'll have a lot harder time beating this Liliana later on, once our hands get kind of diminished some. There's the land. Like I said, I was shocked that they didn't play that. I don't know if they were expecting Raven's Crime or what. Okay, so we know about Force of Negation. I think I'm just going to make a construct this turn. And the most likely thing to get off this Saga trigger is going to be a Nihil Spellbomb. So with that many cards in graveyard, okay, so now we know there's a Murktide Regent. So we know that there's some Delve creatures. I don't know if I like playing the Delve creatures and the Delirium creatures together. but I don't know. I'm not a Delver player, so if one of you guys is a Delver player, you can tell me what you think. I'm just gonna make them tap their mana to bolt this, right? Or the unholy heated or something. Like just get the one less card in hand. Yeah. So we might be getting the rack right here, though. I'm not sure. They know about our affliction and something else, right? Yeah. Our affliction and the saga. That's what they know about. We get to draw. Okay. Uh, I'm gonna get this. I wish I could thought seize before, because I would rather have the rack right here. But I'm a bit scared of a Murktide Regent. I think I'm gonna get the rack. I think that's the right call. It's close though. We're going to take the force, and then next turn that gives us the ability to uptick a Liliana. Or downtick a Liliana to kill this Delver. Expressive Iteration's really good in this spot. Because that'll mean that they hit their second land drop on time. And maybe they have a counter spell or a bolt for our creature or a bolt for our Liliana. So that can be a little bit rough, but for the people just tuning in, like I noticed there was kind of a dip, then a spike there. We're 3-1 right now, and this will be our last match of the night, I think. But I've enjoyed it. I've had fun. I took out Leyline of the Void for the just because I hadn't played against any sort of living end deck or anything, and we got living ended. And I kind of knew that would happen at least once tonight. But I wanted to see if Force of Despair would be good enough against those sorts of decks with our soft graveyard hate. I just don't think it is. I think you just need some number of Leylines in your deck. Them not hitting Force of Negation would be nice right here. And them choosing not to hit a land, though, is kind of weird. They might have just hit the next Force of Negation. Okay, they didn't. That's really good. This Delver deck's a hard matchup for us. If we can keep them off Sprite Dragon or this big Regent, I think we'll be okay. But I'd like to get a 4-1. I've got quite a few 4-1s with this list, like almost a painful amount of 4-1s. And I don't think I've gone out of maybe the past 15, 20 leagues. That card's pretty good. It's a true 8/8. That's the one we were hoping to fade here. I don't think we can win from this spot. Let's see. Let's draw a card, though. If we draw a Fatal Push, we're still in it, right? Man. So one card left, we could have downticked and survived the turn. Expressive Iteration's the card that wins these close games like this, and it's pretty terrifying how good that card is. Awesome, yeah, I'm glad you got to jump in. Hopefully we get the 4-1 here. I'm just going to go ahead and get as much information as we can out of them. I think that getting Nile Spellbomb would have been the right play right there this past turn, and that would have stuck that card in hand. But yep. I don't know. That was pretty 50-50 on between it and the rack, but we knew they didn't have that one in hand. We were kind of hoping to fade that draw step. And had they drawn it the next turn, we would have been fine, but that's just game one, though. We're definitely bringing in the collective brutalities. Weirdly, this card's worse against them than a lot of the other cards, or a lot of the other decks like this, because that Unholy Heat card kills it. They almost always have Delirium, so I don't think I'm bringing it in. I don't like taking out Pithing Needle, but I think that it's because it's almost always situationally at least okay. But I don't know. I don't think there's anything really that we're too scared of. Like just fetch lands is all that it'll hit from their deck. There's no. I don't think there's any planeswalkers, anything like that we have to worry about. I'm tempted to bring in surgical, but I don't think they would run Snapcaster and that big delve creature and the delirium creature because now you have two cards working against your delirium cards. Vontu's Last Reckoning is kind of bad against him. I don't know. Maybe it's not. The sorcery speed removal is particularly bad against Force of Negation, and that's a little worrisome. But Smallpox is just okay. Inquisition Thoughts, Expedition Map, just okay. Map probably stays in. Affliction probably stays in. We probably go down just one land. A lot of times, my typical sideboard plan is to go down two lands in the grindy matchups, but Delver's not really either grindy or. To run another league tonight? It's midnight and I got to work in the morning. I'm probably not going to, but I would like to. But this one's been pretty long. I think I'm going to play first against them. It gives us two cracks at threats, and they're really not a prowess deck. I don't just the difference of how much better they are against our deck than prowess is really weird. Like we handle prowess pretty easily, but Delver is rough. We have a really good curve against them though. Let's hope it's relevant. We probably won't take a turn one creature. Oh, now because they have two of them, we're definitely taking the turn one creature. The Dragon Rage Chandler's just better, right? Oh, this is pretty good. Let's go. Brutality. Pitch the Fatal Push, I think. I think that's right. Because now it gets rid of both of their one threat. We want to save that Pox for this big Murktide Regent. And this will let us take either their Counterspell or their Spell Pierce. Force of Negation on that's pretty rough. But they exile Serum Visions with that. And we didn't know about the Force of Negation in hand from the Thoughtseize earlier, so I don't think it was right to play around that, but here we are. We know they have Spell Pierce up. Okay, that's pretty good. We're just going to do that. We're going to just cast the Dismember for everything at their upkeep. Because we know they have the Spell Pierce. Make them use that this turn. And then that way we can try to go Shrieking Affliction and Smallpox this next turn. Hopefully they miss another land drop. Us drawing a land would be the best thing we could draw, right? Because that just gives us a free card to play. I think we have to crank this Pox off, and I don't really want to, but... Because they're just going to hold cards in hand now. But that's a fast clock with Lightning Bolts and stuff. A flipped Delver versus an unflipped Delver is such a huge difference. Hopefully we draw some sort of repeated card advantage spell over the next turn or two. Okay, well, that was probably If we do that and we draw like a Liliana next turn, that's pretty good. I'm just going to play this out because that gives us a chance to block as a 2/2. Knowing that they have the Murktide Regent in hand for sure, we definitely will be getting the Nile Spellbomb. Them going land Regent here, okay, that's pretty rough. It's kind of back-to-back times where this card's going to be the thing that kills us. I don't know about running that with the Channeler, but that's what we were trying to keep them off of earlier with the Pox. And the Saga just a turn too slow, top decked it one turn too late. Oh, heck yeah. No force of negation. I'm going to float this for a mana. And I'm going to get Expedition Map this time. Yeah, they'll just block with the Regent. If they know I'm attacking, they're just going to block. Or then they will know I have a board wipe. So that's something. Still in it, just barely. Chandler's pretty good. Land would be nice here. Okay, land. Now we can threaten to block with the factory, or we can crack this expedition map and get a Saga. They'll probably be able to get this Channeler online. This card's really good. The amount better that this card is than Delver in Modern, I think, is pretty insane. I mean, you guys can tell me your opinion on that, but okay. So now, yeah, it's a 3/3, but it's almost always attacking by the next turn as a 3/3, like 2 turns in advance. This next Saga will probably end up getting Spellbomb, but I don't know that for sure. Having an access to like some sort of effect to pick off these like 1 toughness or 1 power 1 CMC creatures would be nice to have. We're just going to get a Saga here. If they flip this Delver, that's pretty bad for us. Well, we managed to show you the type of matchups that are good matchups against us and the type of matchups that are bad. Now, this card's really good. Oh, they're milling us. I don't know why they would mill us. Do they know what's on top? Oh, so that way so that they could try to set up the Delver flip. I get it now. But they still couldn't set it up though, so I don't know why that one has to attack, yeah. We can't block it because it has flying. God. The Thoughtseize is a tilt here because we really can't cast it. Because for all we know, they're just holding on to Lightning Bolt. Okay. So if we Liliana down tick here, they just sack the Delver. If they have a counter spell, they win the game. If we Thoughtseize them, then we down tick. We still lose to the 3/3 because we took the 2 damage. I'm trying to think what the best thing to do in this particular spot is. This is tough. I mean, I think we have to shove the Liliana here. And hope we fade both. Oh no, we know about their Lightning Bolt, right? So like they have lethal no matter what. And we know about their counterspell too. That's a tilt. Tilt and a half. Just don't think there's really anything we can do. They might not even counter this because they know it does. This doesn't even kill them on its own, where they have bolt uh, and just keep this if we down tick it. But maybe they have to think about fatal push. I don't know. They're just going to be safe and counter it. So I guess like we're just dead no matter what we do in this spot. I don't think there's anything we could have done too different. Well, they pitched that because we know there's not a flip Delver. And they do have the bolt in hand still, right? There's not. Yeah. Well, I think we're going to end up going 3-2 this one. Okay, and they flip it anyway, but. Well, we showed you, like I said, 3 good matchups, 2 rough matchups back to back. 3-2. I enjoyed the stream tonight, guys. Thank y'all. It's been fun. I might let me know in the chat here. I'm going to give like 2 minutes. If you all want me to run another league tonight, I might run like half of one, or like, or I don't know, just run some in a different queue. But if everyone's like getting a little bit tired or queuing out, tuning out too, let me know that. So, saying hell yeah. Here for the 5-0. That one was rough. Thank you, man. Yeah, like it's a fun deck to play. Like it, you're almost guaranteed getting a 3-2 out of it. And so if you're the type of person who likes to hoard play points and just open one treasure chest at a time and get one qualifier point at a time, this is a pretty good deck to play. But it's fun. I think I might run at least a couple here, and we'll see how it goes. If we go through like a really slow matchup, I might have to call it in early, but we'll run at least a couple more games in the league. You just got home to watch? Well, see, now I have to run at least one more, right? And work doesn't start till like 9:45 in the morning, so like I get. If this takes an hour and a half or so, I'll have I'll have plenty of sleep. So let's go. We'll run it back. We'll at least get one more in. Or maybe not a whole league, but at least like 2 or 3 more games. Just hopefully, if everything goes perfect and we get the easy wins, or if we get blown out like the first game or 2, we might just be done for the night. But we're here for it though. We'll see if we'll keep playing until we lose. That's what we'll do. We'll keep playing tonight until we lose, and then after that, we'll call it quits. Excluding if we go 5-0, I'm not playing another league after that. But up to that point, that's what we're doing. A pretty easy keep here. That makes me think Merfolk, but maybe it's fairies or maybe it's a Oops All Spells deck. I'm not sure, honestly. I'm tempted to not play that Urborg here because if they're fairies, I don't want to fix their colors for them for free, but we got too many factories. We might as well. Okay, they're not anyway. We just take the Tide Shaper, right? Like we're okay if they 2-for-1 themselves at any point. I just don't want them starting to turn my lands into islands. Go to work on 3 hours of sleep like a real man. That's something I've done plenty of times. I don't know if that makes you a real man or not, though. That's pretty good. We're just not going to run anything out into this force negation. Smallpox is bad here. Okay. So this next turn, well, we know they have force of negation and force of negation. So we know they have to force this smallpox, right? Like that's pretty easy. Yeah, so do they pitch? They pitch Glass Bowl Mimic here. That's fine. Let's see. This thing does give the Mutavault Ward 1, which is annoying, so we can't really easily Fatal Push it. They still have one more Force of Negation in hand that we're going to have to bait out again. But, oh, I forgot this thing draws cards, too. It's a pretty good card. Let's play a second factory here. And the first factory blocks as a 4/4 now. So let's cast the Pox. They'll counter it again. Imagine being the kind of guy that plays Merfolk. I would know nothing about that. Ever. Y'all ready to see the beefiest Mishra's factory you've ever seen in your life? I wonder if they'll even attack into it. Do they know? I don't think they know. Maybe they figured it out. What are they thinking about here? They just said screw it. I'm gonna test them, I guess. So that's the newly controlled one. So we have to activate. Oh, never mind. Right, I needed one more mana to do that. I don't know why I was thinking that that I could block there as a. Get a little bit tired now. But I don't know why I was thinking I could block as a 4/4 there. And we're just not blocking in that spot for sure. So this next turn, we're going to hope they don't have a creature here. Okay. And we're going to play the Liliana and hope they don't have a counter spell either. And when they activate this Mutavault in response, we'll Fatal Push the Mutavault to her sack ability. That should get us there. Okay. It's worth knowing that the Mutavault will have Ward 1 for this, but we have the 2 mana up. So now we can... And we can pay the ward cost here. Four mana Harbinger of the Tides. Target tap creature. Okay, so it's just giving them another creature to. That sucks. That card. I think that card's not a card I would ever expect in Merfolk. I would expect maybe a shoot. What's it called? The one with Flash Trickster, Merfolk Trickster there, but not a 4 mana Harbinger of the Tides. That's a rough one. Our shields being down on Liliana here is kind of sad too. Grove. I can't imagine them not attacking the Liliana, but I mean, maybe they're just that confident. Okay. racing us, but this card looked pretty nasty. It's basically just been play this card and protect it with 5 different types of counter spells, more or less. Well, we got something for him. Suspend, suspend. Oh god. This interactive version is killing me here. I think suspend hits anything too. That sucks. I mean, I guess I just take the Lord of Atlantis because getting one of the suspends doesn't do anything. Okay, so even if they suspend our factory, we do get it back, but that's still pretty backbreaking. And we have to make him use it here, right? Let's see if for whatever reason they'll suspend before I declare a block. Then I can activate the other factory. So I can block here. I can pump it. And then I can pump it again with this factory too. So like that at least makes them blow one of the suspends and keeps our other one around. But that card is a bit annoying for sure. I don't think I've ever seen a land with suspend before. That might be a new one for me. It might be right to hold on to that land right there. I just clicked it while I was trying to click the rack. In case we had a Raven's Crime, we could start chaining off some Raven's Crimes. And so now they got that, and they got the second Glasspool Mimic, and that thing will have Indestructible. This thing's been a house. This thing's drawn them, what, 6 cards now? Or, excuse me, 4 or 5 cards? 5 cards? And so we know Glasspool Mimic and 1 unknown, right, in hand. Well, we get to play this thing. I wonder if that counts as our land for turn. It probably does, right? And now this thing has Indestructible too. That's a tilt. In fairness, we did get really flooded here, though. They force a negation both our smallpoxes, but there's a lot of lands. We are running 24 lands, though, so maybe that's just a variance thing, I guess. Where's the green? I think green Merfolk's kind of not the best Merfolk. Like the Simic. This card just makes Mono Blue better. Mono Blue is already kind of better, but now I think it's definitely better. Or it was meta dependent. So now it just doesn't matter what we do. We're dead, right? We have to double chump. And they've drawn 6 cards now off this thing. It does seem like it's just kill this thing or lose. It is weird, I guess, because suspend only gives haste until end of turn. Yeah, but we have to do this with both of them. Is that 3 suspends or just 2? That was just 2, but jeez, that thing's a house. This is a matchup I'm not too worried about. If we lose this matchup, I do think that's a sign to go to bed for the night, but that thing is really, really, really good. Suspend is good against our deck. We make tokens. We have man lands that we rely on. I think Collective Brutality, if they're going to run that many instants and sorceries, and Bantu's Last Reckonings. Set up all three Bantus. Uh, um, Maybe not Collective Brutality. I'm not sure. Liliana and Bantu both just feel so bad against Force Negation, though. They're one of my. When Force Negation's a good card, just board wide or just 3 mana sorcery spells feel rough. It's tempting to bring in this, but like they have all the flash creatures and things, and it's just. I think this card's just probably just bad. I should have just went ahead and replaced them with the ley lines in between leagues here. But I think it's always worth testing something different. We haven't played against the deck that I specifically wanted to test it against, though. If I go down the other, well, having the one pithing needle for Vile seems important. Uh, hmm. They go down one Shrieking Affliction because they're drawing a lot of cards. Affliction's especially bad if they can have 2 cards in hand specifically. I think we're going to go down a Saga. And maybe. I don't want to go down Liliana, but we might go down 1. Just to trim on some of these 3-drop. I think we'll just go down to Pox, actually. Because Pox can hurt us worse than it hurts them sometimes. There's another time, though, here where I think I'm going to take the play against the aggro deck. That's an easy mull. So isn't there one black board white for creatures mana value 3 or less? Not 3 or less. There's one that's, or at least there might be. Not that I know of. There's the only one I know of. There's a 5 mana one. But yeah, that's the only one I can think of. There's one that does a chosen creature type that's -3, -3. That might be what you're thinking of, but I'm not sure. I did kind of learn my lesson a little bit last game about pitching a spell to Collective Brutality when I know that they. I don't want to play the Saga here, but I have to make my land drop. But when I know that they have Force of Negation in their deck, because that to them then it just makes it a clean 1-for-1 instead of a pretty good card advantage. Or Collective Brutality is not really a card advantage play, but it's a tempo advantage play, and they just completely negate it. We'll see what they reveal here off this also Tide Shaper. Okay. I think if we do this in response, so this normally stone rains this land, but if we do it in response, it never becomes an island and never gets stone rained. Okay. The top deck land there is really important because now we get to get the value out of this Saga. What do you mean that's the Cry Carnarium. Yeah, Witch's Vengeance, I think, is the thing that you're thinking of, and that's creature type base. Collective Brutality seems good against that card. There might be a world where I dismember that instead of making a token, but just to play around Force of Negation. But I think you make a token here. Another land would be really nice. Hmm. Let's just use our mana this turn. Let's float that. Let's get an expedition map. Let's Inquisition them to see if they have Force Negation. Oh, so they don't even have anything. God. Well, that sucks. So we're just going to kill this thing. I mean, it's tempting to just not even kill it, but that's actually kind of a tilt. Just what, 5 land hand? It's Ritual of Soot. Yeah, Ritual of Soot's 4 mana. Oh, so Bantu's the reason why you play Bantu over Damnation is just A, because 3 mana over 4 mana wins you games versus not winning you games. But more importantly, really, is the fact that you very rarely get to 3 mana with Smallpox and like Saga and stuff in your deck, so you really kind of need to value the mana efficiency there. Like you notice it's turn 5 and we're at 2 mana, right? I'm getting in here for one. I'm gonna move the phone back up here so I can see the chat a little bit better. I It's almost tempting just to get a swamp with this, but I think we get the Saga and Swamp might have been the better play right there. I'm not sure. You all tell me what you think on that one. That way I could have guaranteed Fatal Pushed here. But if they fire up both these Mutavaults, I'm not too worried. Because now we have both Fatal Pushes for the Mutavaults here later. Notably, it's worth dismembering here, even though we take damage, because it saves us exactly 4 damage to dismember. So it's net the same. Yeah, so let's do that. Take our 2 here. This version of Merfolk's looked a lot better than the one earlier did. Like the God looks better. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way that it's played out. Yeah, Saga can't fetch X-costed artifacts or lands. It has to specifically be 0 or 1, unfortunately. It'd probably already be banned if it could get X-costed or lands like that. But let's see what they got here. So Tide Shaper. I mean, just once again, like we just got to respond to this with a Fatal Push, which that keeps us from being able to use this. But if you let that resolve, it just immediately kills the Saga. I'm probably getting Pithing Needle on the Mutavault here. Yeah, I think that's what I'm doing. That basically kills 2 of their creatures. I'm okay with anything they flash in right here, probably. Suspends. Kind of expecting that. That card's good. I think this is one of the only decks that actually it's good in, specifically. But it's a good card. For sure. For sure, for sure. I've been really impressed with it this game, at least. Relic's fine. They're kind of aggressively... Okay, never. I was going to say they're kind of aggressively dumping their hand here for what could potentially be, a rack win for us. It's kind of hard to believe that we're at 5, but we are. Because that... Merfolk, the damage just kind of sneaks up on you so quickly. Like, if you aren't paying attention to your life total, it gets you pretty quick. And I guess there's no point not firing this Inquisition off, right? Okay, so nothing. That gives us the green light to attack at least, though. That kind of helps speed up our clock a little bit. This version of Merfolk's look tough. Like, when I say that gives us the green lights, because even if they get 2-drop here off the vial, we still have the Fatal Push for it. And they don't have it anyway, so that's fine. We got another little boost there in chat, guys. What's up? I missed that earlier. This card's so good. If we draw a land here, we can cycle the Peat land and Fatal Push it. Okay. So let's do that. Raven's Crime's a nice top deck. This on Mutavault kind of helps us, protects us from a lot of things. God, they have a counter spell too. Man, this card again is going to be the card that beats us, and that's so frustrating. Like, oh god. Just because this card's going to draw them cards, it's going to keep drawing them cards, they're going to be able to cast all of their spells. Obero's good against us too. Like, this card really is like, if you don't answer it the turn it comes down, you're screwed. I think that if we... So if they draw a Lord right here and we don't block, we don't lose, but... Like, we've lost the game anyway just because this card is such a freaking house against us. Like, basically, if our opponent can net like 1 or 2 cards in card advantage, I don't think we can keep up. And they've countered the removal spells every time we've played them. Well, this isn't... The rack's not nothing here, because that means we can block this at least. But if they have Suspend or anything like that again, we're still blown out. So like Suspend, a Brazen Borrower, a Lord. They just bounce this Obero back to hand, and they won't take any damage from the racks again. Waste Not, yeah, I'm not sure. Waste Not, what, like, it's good. Because you get, like, bodies and stuff, I guess, off of it. I guess that's why. Maybe. I'm not sure. Usually I like board wipes. But this card just kind of, it does all the little things right. Relic's a good sign, hopefully. They've been drawing way too many cards to not hit anything here. Like, there's no way they don't hit something, right? Okay, that is something. We got to fade at least one more Lord and... Okay, so just the card advantage part of it in general? I think so, maybe. Earlier, we didn't see this card any when we played against Merfolk. And Merfolk's usually a pretty easy matchup. But, like, this card has just wrecked us both games this time around. Ugh. I mean, we got to fade another draw step again, and we're not even dealing any damage to him here. You know, one of Waste Not's a little bit of the spice, but I like it. I mean, it's a good card. Like, it's when it goes off, it goes off. We have to fade one more draw step of them drawing literally anything. But the good thing is that they run so many of these non... So Rejury's something. God. Yeah, so like basically they literally draw anything in the past 2 turns they win the game. Oh, and they get to tap this down too. Whew. That one was a blowout. This is like, oh, so this is. Oh, okay, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, is this? I thought it was legendary. Jeez, like this is an insane, insane Magic card, and it on itself beat us twice right there. Oh well, well so 0-1 out the gate for league number 2, but I'm gonna play one more. If we drop it, I'll shut it down for tonight. Yeah, I agree. One more game. We'll get at least one more in. Yeah, I don't know. That card looked like a house. It kind of seems like you just need a board wipe for that card. And I think we tried to remove it 5, 6 times over the course of 2 games, and every single one got counterspelled. And that version of Merfolk, I don't know how much better it is than the first version we played against that was more aggressive and was running more creatures and stuff. But having all that counter magic and basically, yeah, they did get so much help this set. We got Saga, and I don't even think it was meant for us. Like there's so many more decks that Saga's way more busted in than our deck, but it is what it is. This is a pretty good hand. I'm gonna keep this, not knowing what we're up against. Is that Ragavan? That makes me think that there might be some monkeys on the other side. If we got the Ragavan avatar. Let's just thought season. Okay, what is this? So this is Jeskai Ascendancy combos, what this is. Okay. I guess we take the Caryatid because we can't Fatal Push it. If you've ever played against this combo deck, it uses cards like this and Caryatid with Jeskai Ascendancy. And basically the whole thing is you're trying to churn through your deck. They hit the next land there. So I was hoping we could keep them off mana and get to that Jeskai Ascendancy eventually, but it doesn't look like it. This has got to be probably yeah, it probably is a good matchup. It's got to be one of the most boring decks literally ever to watch against. I don't know if I want to Ravens Crime them here or not, because then they just stick the Fate Stitcher in their graveyard, right? Well, I guess the Unearth's not great yet. And if we can race them, because the Unearth only lets it like fix their mana, right? Yeah, so I knew they were going to discard that, but next turn we're probably just Ravens Criming them 3 times. Well, maybe not. If we... Yeah, like just being able to pick apart matchups that you normally have to sit here and be miserable through, and you get to sit there and make them miserable. That is a pretty fun reason to play Rack, I will say. They have engineered explosives in the main deck. That's good against. That's probably just a meta call against this card. So they got another Jeskai Ascendancy. So now we know about 2 of them. I guess we just Inquisition them again. I'm not going to get too cute here and try to like take the engineered explosives, so let's just take the Ascendancy. Let's Ravens Crime them once and see what they do. It is, especially when very specifically, like decks like this too, where it's like it takes them so long to combo off and it's non-deterministic. So it's just you just kind of have to hate your opponent to play a deck like this. Okay, so Thoughtseize is good. Now we can get rid of the. Well, I mean, they can Noxious Revival the Ascendancy to the top, but what's that really doing, right? It just means they don't get another draw step of a land. Like, I'm okay if they Noxious that on top for this turn. Caryatid's pretty decent. That does let them Noxious next turn and start trying to go off with Ascendancy, but so let's be ultra big brain mode right here. Let's get Spell Bomb. Play the land, and we'll Inquisition them here. And then if they want to Noxious in response, we can just crack the Spell Bomb. That way, because their deck can't win without this card, right? Like that's the entire deck, I think. Okay, well, I had to know we were going to crack that right there. And they got the Fate Stitcher in hand, but no reason to attack. So they can cast the Fate Stitcher. I think that's 3 out of their 4 Ascendancies, right? Like it's just. Let's just keep cycling these peatlands, I guess. Well, that might be good later. Get in for 4. I'm just going to Ravenscry them right here. That way, if they have like a Glittering Wish or something. Okay, so they're just holding lands. Now they can't really block with either of these. Just any 1-mana artifact's good right here. I guess that kind of counts as blocking. Another group of folks kind of filtering in. We're 0-1 this league. We just went 3-2 last league. I'm just going to go to combat again, see what they do. So now they can kind of keep this thing tapped down. So I'm going to go ahead and get another Saga here. That way we're going to net more bodies than they have blockers eventually. Like I said, 3 out of their 4 Jeskai Ascendancies in their 75 are gone now. So like they're kind of just in play these cards and hope to win mode, I guess. I wonder if they have Leyline of Sanctity in their sideboard. That would be a pain. I'm just going to... Oh. Not fair enough. I guess I'm going to Inquisition them to see what they have right here. So they had the birds. I figured they had something. I mean, once we get the rack, they're dead, right? So that they really are all in on the go off plan. Hmm. They can't really tap this for mana anymore, can they? Well, now they're all the way committed. If they're tapping down one of their blockers, I just don't see how they win the game from here. Period. I think we're okay. Pithing Needle can shut this thing off too, I guess. But at certain points, you don't need to get too fancy with it. You just get the rack and kill them, right? Because like, we have plenty of ways. If we need to next turn, we can Thoughtseize into Smallpox. Because they got to discard their hand here anyway. So the rack is, well, I guess the rack plus Smallpox kills them. They die like several different ways. If I can kill them without showing them the Smallpox, I'm gonna try. See if they scoot before I show it to them. Just because it's like it's not necessary. Okay. Well, I'll have to show it to them, but it's not necessarily like hidden information or anything that we have that in our deck. But maybe they think that we're a version that doesn't run it or something, or don't know our deck list. So okay, Brutality seems pretty good. Maybe Force of Despair. Like if this isn't the type of matchup it's good in, I don't know what is. Probably isn't good in any of them. In all honesty. So yeah, I don't see this card being very good. I know that on the turn they go off, they might end up playing a bunch of mana dorks and stuff, but it's really usually the two that they untap with that actually kill you. I don't think this card's coming out of our sideboard this league. It was nice to test it a little bit, but yeah, I think Surgical for Ascendancy's something. Surgical against any combo deck's worth bringing in. I don't know if you bring in all three or not. Brutality's good overall. I don't know about Pithing Needle. I don't think we need two. Let's go down three of these. We'll go down the board wipe. Liliana's still pretty good. Smallpox is okay. Fatal Push is pretty good. Our whole deck list is just good against what they're trying to do. Is the big thing. Like I don't know. Smallpox is probably the best card in the matchup because it picks off a dork and a land. Uh, I still like Fatal Push. I still like Brutality a lot. Dismember's the weakest of what we have just because everything's lines up so well. Maybe a Shrieking Affliction. It's felt really cuttable. I've gotten down to just three of them. I'm thinking about maybe like trying a version where we don't even run this card in the deck just to see what it does. Like run more artifacts or something. But I don't know. I don't know what you'd replace it with. Though's the thing. Huh. I guess Liliana's not great. Let's go down to Expedition Map. Yeah, I think back to Leyline of the Void might be the right call. Um, since we're down a map, we'll go down one Saga since we only have two two cute targets for it. But yeah, I think that Despair is like it's the matchup that I had it in the sideboard for, which is the Hollow One type Vengevine matchups. We haven't seen any tonight, and that's the one that I wanted to see it against. But you almost can't beat graveyard synergistic decks with this deck. So this seems like a keep to me. I think most of our hands are probably keeps against them. Like I said, just every card in our 75 just kind of lines up well with what their combo is trying to do. You could maybe talk me into like a Witch's Vengeance or something. I play a good amount of Plague Engineer often, and I've taken it out recently because there's not really. Maybe Shrieking for Karns. Like I think that's worth thinking about. Smallpox with Karn is really rough though. So like it's you then have to cut Smallpox, and then you kind of start becoming more and more of a different deck. And like you're talking moving about like 8 to 12 deck pieces down. Moon Tribal hate. If anyone doesn't know Jake in the chat, he basically just plays tribal decks. I can't remember the last. He's played other decks, but I can't remember the last time he's played another deck. We might be getting veiled right here, but we'll give it a try. We just take the Ascendancy again, right? You only play good decks. I don't know. Go on go on Goldfish and tell me where Humans is. I love me some Plague Engineer, and I'm not biased. Opponent is on Jeskai Ascendancy combo. And if you've never seen this combo deck, it uses this card with Mana Dorks. And you try to net mana. And with like all these type of cantrips and stuff. And with all those cantrips, you just keep buffing your creatures more and more, and you try to kill them that way. It's a pretty like I don't want to say it's a bad combo, but it's a pretty bad like it's just super easily disruptible combo. That's what I'll say. Like it's explosive and it's fun and it does cool things, but like it's pretty rough to play any sort of like really gets any interaction at all. And it's slower than like Storm and things like that too. So they do have a Leyline of Sanctity in hand. I think we take the Manamorphose here. Maybe we take the Noxious Revival. Let's. So Noxious Revival just represents another Jeskai Ascendancy. And having them having two of them, I think is a little rough. But Manamorphose digs them another card for Leyline, like land Leyline. I think I'm okay with them having the second one of those as long as they don't have a way to defend themselves. And they got to get rid of them, one of them now anyway, right? So I'll just do that. Yeah, the human list looks good, I think. Like it probably comes down to knowing how to build the deck for the meta, where there's no meta right now for a deck like Humans to be full power. Okay, now we can get rid of this Leyline, so that's nice. Yeah, we'll just take the Leyline. I don't think this is going to be... Like, I'm not too worried about this matchup. Even the Fate Stitcher, we can cycle this Nurturing Peatland to kill it. Ideas Unbound's a rough card to cast on its own. Like, this is definitely a combo card. Like, on the turn, you're trying to go off and, like, just net a crazy amount of mana. So he's going to try to go off. So here's the combo if you... Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that list was, like, it was fine. Like, it was good. I'm just saying, like, for Humans itself to be good in the meta, I think you kind of have to have a good idea of what the meta looks like. This is seriously, this is like one of the most boring combo decks to play against. I'm sorry that y'all have to sit through it, and it's probably really really fun to play. But they were able to they discarded it and they brought it back, and so now like all their instants or sorcery spells basically can cast 1 mana left, and they get another looting effect. If they get another Jeskai Ascendancy here, they might kill us. It's kind of wild to think like it was the Ideas Unbound that they top decked here that is doing this, but I mean I don't think we can play that any differently. Oh, you having fun watching it? Like it does its thing. Like it's just you untap, you tap. Target creature gains flying from if you return up. Okay, so that's a new one I've not seen. So now there's two of them, and this is usually when they start winning the games when there's two effects like this. But like it's not deterministic, so like I'm not going to scoop it. They might just not have the win. And then if they do have the Leyline in their deck, so if they just mulligan to Leyline and then kill us and beat us game 3, like they're pretty close to. That's a pretty neat spell. I've never seen that spell in their deck. It's getting out here now. There's two of them. There is two of them. Oh, lots and lots of untapping and tapping. I gotta give our opponent credit. Like if I was playing this deck, it would be taking me way longer. Oh, I'm not paying attention. He just already has lethal. I should have scooped. Sorry, bud. Yeah, Feed the Swarm is something because of Urza Saga. I'm thinking about putting in the deck anyway. So I don't know. Yeah, Feed the Swarm is pretty decent. Actually, go good. Trim the spell bomb here. I am going to go first. Now knowing, okay, so now we have a surgical extraction and Raven's Crimes. So if they molded Leyline, they just have us. Yeah, which like they got two Leylines. Well, hopefully they discard something, right? I wasn't thinking. I should have brought in Regisaurs. I'm getting tired because Regisaur is our main way to race Leyline of the Void. Liliana of the Veil, keep upticking is another way that we can win from this spot. Like we can't do anything right now because there's double Leyline. Yeah, sorry, I got caught up in my phone blowing up here, and wasn't paying attention to the fact I needed to bring Regisaurs in here. So I thought about Hex Parasite would have been good against that card too. Hmm. I'm just going to save this smallpox here, I guess. Was that was their turn too, right? Yeah. If I can maybe pox away one of their creatures and then surgical it, maybe that they have a much harder time. Oh, sleight of hand. Well, they're not putting us in any particular amount of pressure, at least. But we're not putting them in any pressure at all. Yeah, like Reggie comes in this matchup for sure. Now, especially that we knew that there was Leyline in their deck. We got another Surgical, but it's not doing anything if we can't get some of these cards out of their hand. I'm just going to cycle this. Okay, so now we really want to thinking maybe there just go ahead and throw a Surgical out, but just to not have to discard. But those cards are so dead anyway, it doesn't matter. Hmm. I think there's still a couple key cards that we can Surgical that will break up their combo pretty heavily. I'd like to go land Liliana here, ideally. That's not a Liliana. I always forget Pack Rat's legal in Historic. Like it's a really power. It's legal in Pioneer too, isn't it? Like it does a lot of. It's just a good army in a can type effect. I haven't played it in a long time. I played it cubes the last time I actually played it. Let's see how they stack these. We might be able to. I was gonna say, we might be able to flash Surgical a. Oh god, not hitting any lands here has been so rough. Mm. It had a very unlucky past couple games. So we had a fistful of discard than nothing. I feel bad not Serum or Surgicling that Serum Visions now they've hit all four of them. Can you unearth at instant speed? Okay, so you can only unearth as a sorcery. So let's just get that now. I'm going to let these triggers resolve and see if they pitch another one in their graveyard or something. Okay. And now we're just going to get the other one. Definitely makes it a lot harder for them to win if they don't have these cards. Because that's their best one. Let's look at their deck list here. One more ley line. They still have the Caryatids and the birds that can win them the game. But they can't do it at instant speed or like on one turn anymore. So that gives us a chance there. This is going to be a really long game, win or lose. Aetherborn's a good card too. That was seeing modern play in the mono black style decks for a while there, wasn't it? Like it's just a pretty solid card overall. It probably gets supplanted by Dothi Voidwalker now in any list like that, but still pretty good. Uh, Hitting the land for Liliana the past like 3 turns would have been the difference in this game. Now we have to go down a land too because we have to kill this creature. Or they just go off next turn. That's a little bit tilting. It's tempting to sack the Urborg so that turn their Gemstone Mine offline of being able to do anything, but you have to kill it because that's what their entire deck does is untap with a mana dork and win. So if you can't kill it, you'll lose the game. We really want to go runner runner on lands here. Like just go land land. Or like fatal push would be fine. God. That's like the literal worst land too to draw. This one's been a tilt. Because it's turn 9. They've given us so much time just to draw anything, and we've not so far. They probably win the game next turn, I would imagine. Usually one is like they have a really good chance of comboing off, but two, that's when you know it's almost deterministic at two. I'm just going to F6 through their turn here. Well, and that's just part of Magic too, you know. Like, and there are some factors in that, like I should have brought Rotting Regisaur in, but that doesn't mean like I never drew a third land at the right time. And Smallpox, like it has the really high upside but really high downside. Like if you, so two ascendancies are getting double triggers now, and we didn't draw a way to remove the creature. Oh well, I mean I guess we're not out. We're not losing yet because now they take 9 next turn. Yeah, well, and like we drew some lands, but it was always at the exact wrong time. Or like here we drew the double land, and we got them on the ropes here. Actually, though, funny enough, like they couldn't combo off that turn. They fizzled, and now they're thinking 3-5-7-9 this turn. So like they're actually in a lot of trouble. But like if they get unluckier than we were, I'll feel a little bit vindicated. Like that's like you're talking like super high levels of unluckiness if you can't get it from here. Because they're getting 2 loots on each one. They're getting 2 looks off this. Them not having Fate Stitchers now from the surgical is kind of nice. Yeah, like if we end up winning this game, that would just be. I would almost feel bad about that. They also might run out of cards in their deck before they get this big enough to kill us. I didn't see any sort of. If they only have 17 cards left, and they have to cast what? So, well, so now that's 2 more spells, but so it's at 5-7, and these trigger twice, and so they have to cast 6 more spells. Is all they have to cast, but and one of them is a Jeskai Ascendancy. So now the okay now they actually do win because this card specifically lets them like it returns it to hand every time. But yeah, that so I'm gonna let them play it out for a second. I'm not gonna make them click through their whole combo when I know they have lethal. But so view from above. I've never seen this card before, but specifically it combos with Jeskai Ascendancy where it's a white permanent, and it keeps returning it to its owner's hand. Like that's a neat card in the combo. I'm gonna give our opponent the GGs. All right, we'll scoop it up, but I think that's probably going to be it for me tonight, guys. We 0-2 is a good sign to go to bed. I think that's that thing. I think that's. I'll probably end up not. I might finish this league tomorrow at some point, but yeah, I think that's going to be it for tonight, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'll put the replay up. Let me know what you guys think about going live like this. It's not something I'm particularly comfortable with normally, but like I had fun with it. It's fun getting to interact with everybody and just feel like you kind of get to hang out some. So, yeah, thank y'all. I'm gonna shut it down, and now it's gonna go the infinite like whoo. But